everyone, Cody James here. Hope you're all doing well. Today I am honoring the life of Marilyn Monroe. Today marks the 53rd anniversary since her death in 1962, and I look up to Marilyn Monroe so much. She is such a role model of mine. I don't know if you can tell by my lovely setting here. I have a lot of Marilyn Monroe memorabilia, and I look up to her so much, not just as an actress, but as a person. I think she was a very misunderstood young woman, but I think her story really resonates through a lot of different people, and I do think it's very unfortunate that she had to pass at such a young age. She was 36, but I do think it's so amazing that after over half a century, we are still honoring her legacy, and I think that's really inspiring, and I really do appreciate everything that Marilyn gave to us. So, with saying that, I decided to compile a list of my top 5 favorite Marilyn Monroe films. Now, these aren't necessarily her most well-known films, nor her most successful films, but I have seen all of her films, and I can honestly say that these are the best performances and overall films that she gave. And I hope that this list will help people that haven't maybe seen some of these films go out and watch them, because they are fantastic films. There are a lot of people that only know Marilyn Monroe as the glamour girl, the poster girl, but if you really take a good look at several of her films, she was a very, very talented actress. And something that's really interesting to know about Marilyn is she was never nominated for an Oscar, never won, was never nominated, which just baffles me, because she really was such a great actress, and I think people didn't appreciate her appeal as an actress back when she was doing it, but now I think a lot of people are taking more notice of that, and it's unfortunate that they couldn't take advantage of that when she was alive. But like I said, I love it that people still honor her legacy, and I really do look up to Marilyn very much. So, to start off my list, this was very difficult, by the way. I love all of her films, so it was really difficult to cut this down to 5, but here we go. The first film I'm putting on here, number 5, is The River of No Return. This is a great film. Marilyn stars alongside Robert Mitchum. She plays a saloon girl named Kay, and it's basically Robert Mitchum. He's just been released from jail for shooting a man in the back. He gets reunited with his young son, who Kay has been watching while his son's looking for Robert Mitchum. And to make a long story short, Robert Mitchum, Marilyn Monroe, and the young boy, they get stuck on the River of No Return and must find their way back to the city so Marilyn can be reunited with her husband, who has stolen Robert Mitchum's horse and gun, and so Robert Mitchum can get revenge on this man. And through a crazy turn of events, Marilyn and Robert Mitchum fall in love. There are some great musical numbers in this film with Marilyn, and I can honestly say, there's another film I'm going to bring up on here in a few minutes, but I can honestly say this is probably the most beautiful Marilyn has ever looked in a film. She has that gorgeous cinched waist, and just the way she moves when she's performing in the saloon, absolutely breathtaking. She has those long blonde hair extensions, which you don't really see, I think, in any of her other films. So, well, after she became Marilyn. But it's a great film, highly recommend it. And this is coming from someone that's not a Western film fan at all, and this is definitely a country Western movie. So, highly recommend it. My next film that I put on this list is actually another Western film. I don't know what's going on here. It's called Bus Stop, and Marilyn plays a chanteuse by the name of Cherie. She stars alongside Don Murray, who plays Bo, and basically it's about a guy, Bo. He goes out to the rodeo to compete in a competition, and he meets Cherie at the bar where she's performing, and so of course he's infatuated with Marilyn the moment he looks at her, and he consistently pursues her, to not only forcing her to love him, but kidnapping her and taking her across country so they can get married, which of course she is a little bit not very excited about. I don't know if this is the type of film that a modern day woman would probably really like. It's very I don't want to say degrading, but it's, she gets pushed around a lot in it. But it really is a great performance. This was actually the first film Marilyn did after she studied at the actor studio. So it's a great testament to what she learned, and I think she gave a fantastic performance. She has a bit of like a accent in it, and she does a great job as Cherie. my next film is probably one of her most well-known performances that she gave, and it is a little film called Gentlemen Prefer Blondes. Now, I'm sure many of you already know what this is. If you haven't seen it, this is the film that has the infamous Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend number. This was when Marilyn was at the peak of her successful fame. She stars alongside Jane Russell, who plays Dorothy Shaw, and play two showgirls who go on a boat to Paris, and Marilyn is actually accosted by an undercover detective who Dorothy Shaw falls in love with, but he's too busy focusing on Marilyn because she's currently seeing a man who his father does not approve of her because he thinks that she's just a gold digger, which, I mean, honestly, in the film, she is.
Mr. Esmond and I are going to be married.
To each other?
Of course to each other. Who else to?
Well, I don't know about you guys. I always sort of figured Lorelei would end up with the Secretary of the Treasury.
But, it's still a great performance that she gives. And what's actually interesting to know about this, a little side note, is Jane Russell made a lot more money off of this film than Marilyn did. But I think it's clear to say that Marilyn was the true star of this film. I think they both really carried each other's weight very well together. But this is definitely the film that kind of introduced Marilyn to the world.
I just love finding new places to wear diamonds.
And it's become one of her most well-known performances that she ever gave, and she gives such a great comedic performance. It's definitely probably the funniest she's ever been in a film.
A kiss on the hand may be quite continental, but diamonds are a girl's best friend.
My next film that I put on here came out right alongside Gentlemen Prefer Blondes. However, I do prefer this a little bit more because it's a more dramatic performance, and I always think that Marilyn was truly at her best when she was being a bit more serious and a bit more demure in her films rather than being comedic. This film here is called Niagara. It is from 1953. Like I said, it came out, I think, just right after Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, so she had already made a huge name for herself. But this is a great film that Marilyn gives. And earlier you heard me say, I think that The River of No Return, she looks the most beautiful in. This is either a close second or a tie because she is stunning in this film. This was actually the first time I watched a film of Marilyn Monroe's, and it's what really got me drawn to her. There is a scene in the film where she kind of hums and sings along to the version of Kiss Me, and it is just breathtaking to watch. She just blows you away. And basically the synopsis of this film, it's a vacationing couple, George and Rose Loomis. Marilyn plays Rose, and George is, I believe was in the war, or he is a bit crazy after being in the war, and she is having an affair with another man in Niagara Falls. At this time they meet a married couple celebrating their honeymoon, and through a strange turn of events, Marilyn decides to have this man that she's having an affair with kill her husband, but as it turns out, her husband kills this man, and she ends up being the next victim, as her husband knows what's been going on this whole time. There's a fantastic scene in this film where after Marilyn finds out that the man that she loved, the real man she loved and the one she had an affair with has died, she's lying in the hospital, and she hears the bells ring, Kiss Me, the song that she and this man, it was their song. And she knows that it's her husband that's played it. She knows he's still alive, and she wakes up and she's looking up and she just knows that her fate is sealed. It's a truly great performance by Marilyn, a very underrated performance, and definitely one of the most visual appealing performances I've ever seen of her.
Smell like a dime store. I know what that means.
Sure. I'm meeting somebody. Just anybody handy, as long as he's a man.
So, my number one film is one that I don't think a lot of people are probably as familiar with of Marilyn's work. However, I did want to bring up something. I do have a few honorable mentions because, as I said, it was incredibly difficult making just a list of my top 5 favorite Marilyn films. So, here they are, in no random order, a few honorable mentions of mine.
Will you have lunch with me?
I bring my lunch to the store.
I'd be so grateful if you'd take it out.
You see that man? That's Max Fabian, the producer. Now go and do yourself some good.
Why do they always look like unhappy rabbits?
Because that's what they are. Now go and make him happy.
I don't want you to think I'm a drinker. I can stop any time I want to, only I don't want to, especially when I'm blue.
We understand.
All the girls drink. It's just that I'm the one that gets caught. Story of my life. I always get the fuzzy end of the lollipop.
You know, of course, that diamonds are a girl's best friend. And this is our proof of it.
Oh, do you feel the breeze from the subway? Isn't it delicious?
Sort of cools the ankles, doesn't it?
And now for my final pick as my ultimate favorite Marilyn Monroe film. Great performance, great film. It's the 1952 film noir classic, Don't Bother to Knock. This is a fantastic film, and it was Marilyn's first leading role, and it's a very serious, very dramatic performance that she gives. She plays Nell Forbes, who is she plays a babysitter in there who's going to this hotel. This all takes place one night in a hotel, and she's taking care of a little girl, and there's something off about it. She's very quiet, very almost put together, but in a sadistic kind of way. This film also stars Richard Widmark as Jed and Anne Bancroft as Lynn Leslie. This film was kind of more meant to be a vehicle for Anne Bancroft, but Marilyn definitely proved to be the true frontrunner in this film. And basically it starts out with Richard Widmark and Anne Bancroft. They're lovers who are having a lover spat, and she doesn't want to marry him because she doesn't like the way he acts, she doesn't like how he treats people, so he heads off to his room, and as he looks out of his window, he sees across the way Marilyn wearing an outfit that belongs to the mother of the little girl she's babysitting, who's napping in the other room, and Marilyn's dancing around, just having the time of her life, feeling like she's elegant, because you can tell looking at her in this film she doesn't have much. And Richard Widmark calls her up, says,
I'm the guy in 821 across the court. Can I ask you a question?
Oh, I don't know. I suppose so. Are you sure you want me?
Yeah, you're the one I want, all right.
He meets up with her, they have a drink, and he comes to find out that she is not just this glamorous woman that he thought she was. She's actually someone who is very lost.
I can't figure you out. You're silk on one side and sandpaper on the other.
I'll be any way you want me to be.
Why? Why is it so important?
Because I belong with you.
And as the film projects, we get to see bits and pieces of her character fall apart, and she delivers some of the finest acting I've ever seen by an actress in this film. She gives desperation, but she also gives elegance, she gives glamour, but she also gives a bit of psychotic behavior. It's a great film. I highly recommend it if you have not seen it. So that's it. Those are my favorite films of Marilyn Monroe. Again, it was very, very hard to do this list, but please share your thoughts and opinions on what you think. She's, like I said, she was my favorite actress and basically my biggest role model in life. I did post a video tribute to Marilyn in honor of her anniversary of her passing. I do have the link down here, so feel free to click that and watch that. Otherwise, it's on my channel, so feel free to watch that. And please subscribe, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. And rest in peace, Marilyn.
I've heard of affairs that are strictly platonic, but diamonds are a girl's best friend. And I think affairs that you must keep Masonic are better bets. If little pets get big baguettes, time rolls on, and youth is gone, and you can't straighten up when you bend. But stiff back or stiff knees, you stand straight and